They don't want you to know this about women, because the second you see it, you'll stop confusing obsession with love. Stay with this until the end, and you'll finally understand why certain women get into your head, and why they never really leave. There's a reason you can't stop thinking about her, even if she hurt you, even if she confused you, even if the relationship ended months or years ago. You still wonder what you did wrong, still replay the conversations, still feel that quiet ache when you see her name or hear her voice in your memory. And here's the hardest part to admit: she wasn't even that good to you, so why can't you let go? It's not weakness, it's not neediness, it's not love, it's psychology, and she knew exactly how to use it. You were manipulated, not overtly, not violently, but surgically, subconsciously, repeatedly. And that's what made it work, because true obsession isn't caused by beauty. It's caused by inconsistency, unpredictability, psychological games played beneath the surface of connection, games that women, consciously or unconsciously, are often taught to play better than men. And if you don't know the rules, you'll lose. Not just the relationship, but your clarity, your peace, your sense of reality. Let's start with Schopenhauer. He once wrote that women are nature's instruments, their instincts refined not for truth, but for survival. Now, whether you agree or disagree with that framing, one thing is undeniable. There's a kind of woman who doesn't want a connection. She wants control. And the way she gets it is not by dominating you, but by activating you. She makes you feel seen, admired, wanted, until you're invested. Then she pulls back, coldly, quietly, just enough for you to chase. That is the first trick, emotional mirroring followed by withdrawal. It's not accidental. She studies you, not like a scientist, like a musician tuning an instrument. She listens to your rhythm, your tone, your silence. She finds out what makes you feel safe, and then gives you just enough of it to make you crave more. You think she understands you, but what she really understands is your longing. She mirrors your values. She praises your vision. She hints at submission, softness, femininity. You think it's compatibility, but in reality, she's just building a reflection that flatters your ego. And once your guard is down, she vanishes emotionally, not completely, just enough to confuse you, just enough to trigger the question, did I do something wrong? That question is the hook. The moment you start questioning yourself instead of her patterns, she has you. Trick 2, the intermittent reward system. This is the same psychological technique used by casinos and slot machines. You don't get dopamine when you win. You get dopamine when you might win. She gives affection randomly, praises you one moment, criticizes you the next, texts you constantly, then ignores you for hours, calls you the one, then acts cold and distant when you're vulnerable. You're not falling in love. You're becoming addicted to emotional gambling. Your nervous system is being conditioned to chase the high, even if the relationship is filled with lows. And here's the most disturbing part. Your brain starts to equate her with the feeling of chasing. So when she's gone, you don't just miss her. You miss the chemical chaos. You miss the need to fix something. You miss the version of you that existed when you were trying to get it right. This is not love. It's dependency, engineered through inconsistency. And once you're in it, logic doesn't matter. You could list every red flag, every lie, every moment she twisted the truth, and still feel like you want her back. That's how effective the trick is. Trick 3, social proof and perceived value elevation. She never has to tell you she's high value. She just lets you believe you're lucky to be chosen. You see the way other men look at her. You notice the attention she gets when you walk into a room. She drops comments like, "My ex used to say I was the most intense person he'd ever met." Or, "I've always had strong connections, but this one feels different." She's not bragging. She's calibrating your perception, and you fall for it. Because you start comparing yourself to an invisible standard. You begin to think, If she's had so many options, why did she choose me? And just like that, you become emotionally indebted. You start trying to prove that you deserve her. You try to maintain the attraction. You try to be better than the last guy. You try not to mess it up. What you don't realize is this: she's not comparing you to anyone. She's watching how quickly you abandon your center just to keep her interested. The moment you start performing, she stops respecting. Because the third psychological trick is this: make a man feel like he's competing for something, then watch him self-destruct to win. And the more you prove, the less she needs to. This is how she stays in control, by making you feel like her attention is scarce and your value depends on keeping it. Trick 4. The guilt trigger. This is one of the most damaging and hardest to detect. You begin to feel guilty for setting boundaries, guilty for asking questions, guilty for needing space, guilty for not constantly praising her. Why? Because she's trained you, not through aggression, but through emotional withdrawal. You express discomfort. She goes quiet. You pull back slightly. She acts wounded. You hold your ground. She questions your feelings. Suddenly, every expression of your authenticity becomes a threat to the connection. And you, desperate not to lose her, begin editing yourself, softening your tone, avoiding conflict, apologizing for things that aren't wrong. You call this being a better communicator, but really, you've been emotionally domesticated. She doesn't have to control you directly. She just lets you feel the consequences of disappointing her and leaves you to discipline yourself. This is how psychological guilt loops form. You betray yourself just to feel safe in her presence. And the more you abandon your own truth, the more emotionally dependent you become on hers. Trick 5. The illusion of destiny. This is perhaps the cruelest trick because it feels the most magical. You tell her you've never felt this way before. She nods slowly, smiles, and says, "I felt it too. The moment I saw you." She talks about fate, dreams she had about you before you met, the feeling that you've known each other in a past life, the way your connection is unlike anything she's experienced. You're not just falling for her anymore. You're falling into a story, a myth, one where pain has meaning, distance is romantic, and your suffering is proof that it's real. So when she starts to become inconsistent, you rationalize it. You say, maybe this is part of the spiritual growth. Maybe we're just going through a hard phase. Maybe this is a test. It's not a test. It's emotional confusion wrapped in poetic language. And if you don't wake up, you'll stay stuck. Because once the idea of destiny takes hold, pain becomes sacred, and you stop trying to get out because you've been convinced that the chaos is part of the love. And that's the true danger of these tricks. They don't just hurt you, they reshape your psychology. They alter what love means to you. You begin to think love is supposed to feel like tension. That attraction means chaos. That connection requires constant decoding. You confuse being emotionally activated with being truly seen, and then you carry that pattern into everything you touch. So, how do you break free? How do you unhook from the illusion without becoming bitter, jaded, or closed off? It starts by realizing this: if someone can control your peace, they already control your power. You have to stop chasing clarity from the person who confused you. Stop trying to get closure from someone who benefited from keeping you uncertain. Stop trying to find honesty in someone who only ever spoke in riddles. You cannot win at a game where the rules change every time you start to gain ground. The only winning move is to leave the game, not with vengeance, not with anger, but with clarity. You see, these psychological tricks don't just manipulate your emotions. They blind you to your own value. They make you forget what groundedness feels like. They distort your inner compass until chaos feels like chemistry. To reclaim yourself, you need to reverse the frame. You don't ask, "How can I get her back?" You ask, "What did this version of me need to believe in order to tolerate that?" Because obsession is a mirror. It reflects the parts of you that were still unfinished, unguarded, ungrounded. And she, whether by design or instinct, walked straight through those cracks. But here's the truth no one tells you. She was never the prize, your peace was. And any woman who costs you your clarity is too expensive. You don't need to become cold. You need to become conscious. Study the patterns, not so you can spot them in others, but so you can remove the parts of you that invite them. Because when a woman uses psychological tricks to make you obsess, what she's really testing is your relationship with self-abandonment. She wants to see how quickly you'll betray yourself for the fantasy, how badly you want to be chosen, how much of your truth you're willing to edit to keep the connection. And once you stop doing that, once you stop chasing anything that confuses your soul, you become untouchable. That's when the tricks stop working, because you're no longer looking for someone to prove you're worthy. You've already decided, and that decision becomes your shield. Not arrogance, not indifference, but clarity, the most magnetic and protective force a man can carry. Because here's what most men don't realize. You're not addicted to her. You're addicted to the feeling of almost being enough, almost being chosen, almost being safe. That emotional almost is the bait, and your nervous system is chasing a reward that was never meant to come. But now you see it, and once you see it, you can never unsee it. If this resonated, take a moment to subscribe. Drop a comment below, not for the algorithm, but to mark this chapter in your journey. If you made it this far, you're not just watching, you're remembering, returning, reclaiming your inner ground. So trust that the video YouTube shows you next, the one appearing now, is not random. It's the next doorway, the next layer, and it will meet you exactly where you are. We'll see you in the next depth. Depthoria continues.